What's up everyone? Today we're going to be looking at the top tips and tricks to Hot Toys maintenance. This video is sponsored by Replay Toys. Not really, I just happen to like the shirt and I happen to be wearing it. Let's get going. That's right, today we're going to be looking at the top tips and tricks to Hot Toys and 6-scale collecting maintenance. But before we get into those things, I do have a couple little bits of housekeeping that we need to address. That being, if you have not already liked and subscribed to this channel, please do so right now. I know it's annoying, I know it's always over the top, but please go ahead, hit that subscribe notification. We are on our way to 2,021 subscribers. As of right now, we are over 700, which is awesome. My goal is by around June or July to be sitting around 1,000 to we can get ourselves into the end of the year rush at 2,021 subscribers. I really believe we're about to get there. Thank you so much for all the support that you've given us thus far. With that being said, let's get into this today. I've been wanting to talk about this for quite some time. This is an important topic that a lot of people on Reddit, on Instagram, everyone usually asks something along these lines. We have expensive figures. How do you take care of them? Well, thankfully, I'm going to bring you some tips and tricks that I have learned along the way, and hopefully you can feel a little bit more comfortable about the figures in your collection. Let's start off with number one. The first thing that should be on everybody's list is a place to actually display them. Now, I've actually done a couple videos about this called Displays for Dummies and Displays for Dummies 2 that talks about kind of my display setup. I chose the IKEA Detolf. I think it's perfect for 6-scale figures, especially if you have some good lighting and you have a lot of opportunities to display them. They look gorgeous. As you can see behind me, I have quite a few of them. So I definitely like the IKEA Detolf. But whatever your display is, make sure you have a display. Now, with that being said, something that you might need to worry about if you have any type of casing is the dust that gets in there. Now, with these IKEA Detolfs, they have a door in front of it, a glass door that really helps with a lot of that, but still, there are gaps in between to where dust can get through. For that, I've not done it myself, but I plan to. People have done something called weather stripping, and it gives it kind of a seal that keeps dust from getting inside. You can pick up a few of these weather strips from Home Depot. They kind of just go right along the side there. I plan to do that soon to my collection. That'll be kind of a part 5 of my collection tour when we get around to that. So with that being said, make sure that you do what you can to protect them in a display and do the best you can to keep dust out of your display. Number 2 on the list would be cleaning. How do you clean these things? Because they're high-end, because they're delicate, something I recommend is a little bottle of canned air. It's a great way to clean them. You can kind of just put it right up to where it is, blow some of the dust off, get some of the things out of the cracks there. That is a great solution. And forgive me for the giant truck that is going down the road right now. Well, we're back at it. Sorry about that interruption. How rude. So anyway, as I was saying, compressed air blows the dust away. This is awesome. You can pick these up pretty much anywhere. These work great for getting the dust out of the cracks, moving them around without damaging your figures. Now, one other thing you could do, and my wife's a makeup artist, so it makes it very easy, is get a little bit of makeup brushes. You can be able to put it right on the face and be able to get some of the dust off of those beautiful sculpts so you don't damage it as well. Make sure they are soft bristles though. You don't want hard bristles like a paintbrush out there scratching up any of the beautiful sculpts that we have out there. So make sure soft makeup brushes, compressed air will do wonders on keeping your figures clean. Number 3. Now, I know we love to display these things, but you need to be careful about where you display these things. Let's not put them in direct sunlight. Let's keep them out of the windowsills. I know some people may want to take them to their office, put them right there, kind of looking out over the city or wherever it may be. Let's not do that. UV rays are the enemy of anything. Just like you walk outside and you forget to apply sunscreen, it'll burn you up. If you leave your figures inside of a UV ray, it'll destroy it. It'll fade the paint, it'll melt it, it can cause the paint to chip, all kinds of different things. It also, if you have pleather or leather, that is the worst thing for those figures to be in any type of UV light. The last thing you want is to have the different garments and the clothes and the accessories on your figures peeling and wasting away. So keep them out of the window, keep them out of the UV light. Number 4 would be watch your humidity levels and look at some climate controlled options. Now in my house, I keep it 67 degrees year round. And that works out perfect for me. Depending on where you are in the country or countries that you may be in, that may not be an option for you depending on your electricity bill or whatever it may be as far as your climate control units that you have. Everybody is different. But for the most part, people always freak out saying, all your pleather and all those things are just going to deteriorate. They're going to turn to dust, just like Thanos snapping and putting everybody away. I've had these figures for quite some time. Some of these are over 10 years old, and they're doing just fine if you keep them in a climate-controlled environment. Don't keep them in harsh colds, don't keep them in harsh heats, and keep them out of the rainforest, essentially, and you will be fine. Take pride in where you're keeping them and keep them nice and cool. Number 5 goes right along with that. And with these type of figures that have leather and pleather and rubber and different pieces like that, you may, if you are in a situation to where you may not be able to have all the climate controls that you want, there are conditioners and UV protectant wipes and sprays that you can get. Something called 303 protectant wipes and or spray is something you could use. I don't use that because I kind of got a good situation here with my AC and my climate control. I'm not worried about that. But if you're worried about any of your leather or rubber flaking or chipping, highly recommend grabbing some 303 protectant. You've used very little amount, put it on there, rub that into your figures, rub that into the leather, the pleather, the rubber, whatever it may be, about once every 6 months, and it will kind of bring those fabrics and bring those pieces back to life. Now, and I said fabric, and that might have been an overcorrection. Let's not put them on the actual clothing, put them only on like the skin, the rubber, the joints, things like that, things that could break or flake apart. If you have any of your figures and they're in cloth and there are different things like that, Jedi robes, don't need to worry about that. But one thing I will say about the Jedi robes, this is a interesting free point of advice, is that a lot of the Jedi robes bleed. And what that is they put too much dye into the fabric. So if you're not careful and the Jedi robes are kind of on the neck and the arm of your figure, it may transfer some of the dye onto the sculpt and onto the neck, which is a terrible thing, and it does not come off, it stains it. So be very careful on how you have your Jedi robes positioned on your Star Wars figures. With that being said, one quick tip is that if you wanted to, you can wash those robes in some hot water and some dish soap, wring it out, dry it out good afterwards. It takes all the dye out. Quick little Google search on that will show you kind of how to do it so you don't mess anything up. But if you're worried about that, that's another free tip for you. And number 6, batteries. I don't use them because batteries corrode. And with all these different figures that have LED lights, whether it be a lightsaber, whether it be an Iron Man figure, whether it be something that requires batteries, you can put them in for a little bit if you want, but it's a hassle for me, especially if you have an Iron Man figure that has, I think, 12 to 15 different little tiny cell batteries. It's annoying to put them in, it's annoying to take them out, so I don't use them. But if you really wanted to, don't leave those batteries in because they can corrode and they can have oozes and things that bust out of those batteries and they can damage your figure. So for me, I don't put batteries in any of my figures simply because I don't want them to leak. I don't want them to be destroyed. So if you are going to use those batteries, don't use the ones that Hot Toys provide. Go and get different ones of that same size. They're a little bit stronger, they're a little bit better quality, and they don't leak as much. But the one thing to not do is use the batteries that Hot Toys provides. Those things are crap, don't use them. They will leak, and you pretty much only get about 5 minutes of runtime on it. By the time you put them all in, you've spent more time putting the batteries in the figure than it actually lasts lighting up. And finally, number 7, dynamic poses. With the dynamic flight stands, if you have a Spider-Man figure or a rubber figure or something that's got kind of like a pleather type of costume on it, people really get terrified of using the clamps or moving any of their figures into dynamic poses. Now, at the end of the day, these are action figures. They are meant to be displayed. I know a lot of people, and I talked about this in my last video, talked about how they prefer the museum pose where everything is kind of straight up and down, no crazy poses or anything like that. For me, I want mine to be displayed. I want mine to look good. So I put mine in some dynamic display stances, if you will. Now, with that being said, yes, if it has some stretchy fabric like a Spider-Man figure, they will put creases inside your figure. Now, you have to ask yourself, Is that worth it to you or not? If you say you don't want any creases in your figure, then a museum pose probably is what's best for you. But also, if you don't really like the museum pose and you don't like the idea of creases, maybe think about getting a different type of figure so that you can properly display it. It's a shame to spend all that money on figures and not be happy with it. Now, if you are going to display it with that type of suit and in those dynamic flight stands and dynamic poses, keep in mind that if you were to take them off, put them back in a museum pose for about 2 weeks, the rubber and the pleather and whatever that fabric is heals itself. It kind of stretches back and morphs back to the way it was. So those things aren't there forever. So that's a quick little tip to kind of make sure that if you are going to use a dynamic pose, do so. But if you are worried about it, just take them down. Don't leave them in that pose forever. Take them, stretch them out, and the fabric will return to good as new. Well, that is going to do it for us today. Thank you so much if you made it all the way through this part of the video. Leave a comment down below letting me know what you want to see in our next video. To be honest, I wanted to do the collection room, but I'm waiting on one more figure. I'm waiting for Captain America to get here before I show off the rest of the room and everything we have going on here. So let me know down below what you would like to see on this channel. As I said before, we are on our way to 2,021 subscribers. I firmly believe we can get there. Let me know, share this video with somebody, and I will see you in our next video.